We are. We are. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another, what do I want to call it? Not just it's more than a podcast. It's more than a movement. It's welcome to the next chapter. How about that?
I love it.
Of you arising to a new level in you.
And maybe we should. So I'm Jamie Vona.
I'm Melody Williams.
Okay. So maybe we should let everybody know that we've officially changed our name to it's still She Rises, but instead of an S, it's a Z. So that way,
Yes.
if people try to find us, they know which one's ours. And pretty soon we'll have a website too. I have the website. We just have to create it.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. 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 Yep. I've got
So
some
when that
time. We'll
comes
be
up,
working
everybody,
on that.
it'll be sherises.com. I already have the
Yep.
domain.
Yep. Perfect.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Yep.
Perfect. We're
And as
moving on
she
up
rises, we can rise as always together. Yes.
together. That's right, girl. So today we're going to talk about Miss Melanie and I were talking about how do we prioritize ourselves. So I said before we even get to how do we prioritize ourselves, how do we prioritize our priorities, right? So how many
Yes.
people have
Yes.
so many priorities? Like you're a mom or you're, a mom, a student, a wife, a this, a that, a sister, a friend. Like, how do you prioritize all the things you have to do? Like, you have to do the laundry, you have to do your homework. What do you choose to do first? You have to have
Yes.
clothes, but at the same time, you have to turn your homework in. So it's like, how
Trust
do
me.
we
Yes.
prioritize?
Yes. And of course, just the spin of it that we want to have as our underwriting theme is in the importance of self-love, you know, and that is a part of prioritizing you, that I've got to love myself. I've got to be able to show up authentically for myself before I can help somebody else.
That's
So give
right.
us our priority list, Jamie. What is the first thing? Because we all have these New Year's resolutions that we've done. And, usually that's, I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. And then you never go in the gym the first 30 days.
And
And
then you feel
then,
like you failed.
right.
Okay, so instead of doing that, I say a couple episodes when we talked about instead of waiting till New Year's, we said start it now. So I am curious to see if anybody started back before New Year's, if they started some sort of resolution, because we said don't wait until New Year's. So my
Right.
thing is you put so much stress on yourself, first of all, with a New Year's resolution, because sometimes people get over they think too much into it and now they're putting other things to the side that they should be doing. So I think it's important to make sure that obviously you have to take care of yourself first because, like you're saying, if you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody else. But what does that mean? So there's times where, I just have to I look at my family and I'm like, what do I need to do for them? But of course, like right now, for example, we had a New Year's party last night. Everything's cleaned up, everything's good to go. My daughter had friends sleep over, my husband's watching TV. So I just like had to make sure like this was a priority for me today. Yesterday, my priority was my family and having that party. Today, my priority is my podcast. So they know that's another thing. Let the people around you know
It's
because
good.
sometimes we don't tell people. And when we don't tell people, we get annoyed. We're like, what are you doing? Like, so I feel like when we tell people, everybody in here knows I'm doing my podcast right now. So they all know, if I get a little bit loud, like, shh, my mom's doing her podcast or things like that. So I think it's important to let the people around you know what's important to you and don't make
Yes.
everything important to you. So don't make like, watching Days of Our Lives as important as doing a podcast. Do you see what I
That's
mean? So
good.
you have to like choose what. So this was one of the things that I chose. Like this is my deal. And if there's something my daughter had to do today and she was like, Mom, I would make it a point to make sure that I work my schedule around that. So,
Yes.
but again, it's because I'm doing my podcast now that after we're done this today, I'll have the rest of the day free to help my
Sure.
family. But I
Mm-hmm.
took care of myself first because this is something that means something to me and I need my own identity. I don't want to be I see too many moms that once they have kids, and my mom did this and she wouldn't be mad at me for throwing this out there. That's just what you did back then, I guess. But
You
she,
did.
yeah, Jen, she's older than you. So we're talking like your parents' generation, my parents'
Right.
generation, like
They
a
all
lot of
did it.
people they all did it.
They
So
sacrificed,
we used to
sacrificed.
yeah, we used to tell my mom, like, you need to find a hobby because we're all gonna get married and leave, and you're gonna be sitting here like, what do I do? What do I do? And sure
Who
enough,
am I?
I found her, like, I would come home from work and she would be in my kitchen, like rearranging my drawers, and I'm like, how'd you get in here? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? She'd be on the phone with her friend. She's giggling like you. And I'd walk in and she's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, what is she doing? So now my husband, it's funny, after she did it for like the fourth time, we went to her house and he's like, we're switching all her drawers. She thinks like, if she's like, I don't understand why you don't have the spoons right here. Cause if you're cooking, you need a spoon. And I'm like, I pay my own bills. Like, go put your spoons where you want. I'll put my spoon. But for the longest time, I was like, thanks, mom. Thanks, mom. And then I started to realize that it wasn't really working. So I had to like boundaries. There we go. I had to
Boundaries.
set some
Boundaries.
boundaries. And I think this is going to come back to boundaries because if you think about it, you have to be able to hold and set boundaries in order to get all those other things done.
I agree. I agree.
What are some of the
And
things, what's some of your advice?
well, I think one of the main things is that, when we make our list, make it realistic. That's what I think.
Yes.
Because we are all overachievers. Oh, I'm going to do this in 5 days. I'm going to do this in 7 days, and of course, culture has just, influenced us so much that everything is a express lane version of what takes time to develop. So, oh, I'm going to lose weight in 15 minutes. I'm going to, do my doctoral in 2 days. It's like, let's be realistic.
Perseverance too, I guess
Yeah,
is what you're saying. So you have to be realistic, but then when you set a goal, persevere and get through it. I think a lot of times
absolutely.
people start things like when I started my doctorate, I'll even say it. I'm so glad I went to the very first meeting. They had people that just graduated on the call with new people and we got to ask them all kinds of questions. And I'm so glad I showed up for that because I'll never forget. I was thinking like, oh, it's my doctorate. Like I've already done so much work. Like it shouldn't be that bad. I do papers all the time. So I remember being on the call and they were like, yeah, they're like, if you don't have at least 20 to 30 hours a week. And I was like, everybody's faces where it's like, we were all like, did he just say 20 to
Right.
30 hours a week? So I like that was important. And there were some people that chose not to go to the school or not
Sure.
to pursue it because
Because
it didn't work for them.
they knew that that was something that was unreachable at the season of life that they were in. So that's what I'm saying
Right.
as far as
I like
whatever
that you
you're,
said the season of life because it
yes,
doesn't mean that they can't do it in 5 years or
no,
next year.
it's just right now.
Exactly.
If I can just deal with right now, if I take life one bite at a time, then I can schedule it in. I know like right now, I am at my cap as far as the things that I have on my plate with the business, with ministry, with marriage. I said, okay, I'm kind of, and then I said, put in family and self. So
Yes.
when you do that, you just say, okay, what is more important to me in this season that I want to accomplish? And as you do that, and so I don't want to make it a resolution, just make it a commitment to yourself
Yes.
that
Yes.
I commit in this season to choose me. That has been mine. That that whatever I do, because calls are always coming in. That someone, and I would say your poor planning cannot become my emergency.
Oh, I love that.
That's true.
Oh, I
It's
love that. We need to put that on a t-shirt.
please,
Say that again. Your poor
your
planning.
poor planning cannot become my emergency.
Oh, I'm getting that on a t-shirt, girl, and I'm wearing it all over the place.
Okay, you better do it. Okay, I have to really just say that because sometimes people will call and they've got an emergency, and then I either let them leave a message depending on what I'm doing, but what I stop doing is I stop stopping everything that I'm doing in my life just because a phone call of inconvenience has come in. So that
Yes.
you have to balance out life. Because what I don't appreciate, and I kind of just talked to my husband about it, because with just being pastors too, people feel as though that they have complete access to you. And I
Yes.
understand that because we're in a position of servitude. So that is a part of it. But even with that, you still have to have boundaries. That
You're right.
someone
I
should
find
not
myself
be
doing the
able.
same thing. I don't have boundaries sometimes. You could call me at 4 a.m. and I jump out of bed. I'm like, what's
Oh,
up? But
absolutely not. Those days are over. Over. We used to
yep.
do it. And then you were one, because I realized too that they leave out your life fine. You leave out frustrated.
Yes.
Yes. And so
That's
then you
right.
said, oh,
And
wait a
then
minute,
you're tired the next day because you didn't sleep
something is
because you stayed up all
right.
night. How Yeah, I agree.
Something is wrong with that picture. And that's why you have to reinvent it and say, wait a minute, I have to prioritize me. Because when you decide to step into my life unannounced and uninvited, okay, then now you want, hey, this is what we do. We keep it real, right? That
Yeah,
now you
right.
want me to stop everything I'm doing to put it on hold. So you're really not even considering me. And that is really, I know I'm trying to be nice in a
I
word.
like that. No, that's deep. I like that. So I think that's really important too. And I do think that there's some people, and then there's other people that they feel like they're a bother. So then they wait till they're in crisis to ask for
It's
help. So
no,
I think
no.
there has to be some kind of like, medium. Some people trauma dump and then other people hold it inside. There's got to
Right.
be a medium
And then
somewhere where
you know your circle, you know your environment, you know where the call's coming from, you know your family, you know your friends, you know your community. So you know, because if they're drama filled, it's another drama situation. But if that is not their
speaking of
norm, then you know how to process it.
And speaking of drama, I tell people all the time, if the best relationships are usually boring. If you're in a drama-filled relationship, think about it. If it's dramatic, it's because you're arguing over something, you're passionate and you're both fighting. So if you find yourself and you're like, oh, well, what am I going to do today? But you have somebody that's loving and they're, you know what I mean? I think sometimes people we live in a world where there's so much excitement and there's so much outside stuff, like, you know what I mean? So I think it is hard for people to prioritize themselves. And I don't want people to think prioritizing themselves means like being selfish, but I
No,
guess
or
it is.
self-centered. It's not. It's
It's
just
not
it's
selfish.
valuing the you that you are trying to be, valuing the you that you want to be, valuing the you that you are. That is prioritizing you. But it was funny, just your analogy that you just said. A guy got what you talking about, the road. I call it the roller coaster ride. You know, if this relationship is volatile, you're on the roller coaster ride. I said sometimes it's easier to take the train. Okay, that's why I was over here giggling. I said, I had to give God a high five. I said, that's a good one. I said, because
Yeah,
you
it
get on
is.
the roller coaster ride, you buckle up because you know it's going to be a bumpy ride. I get on a train, I get to coast and enjoy my life
That's a
instead of
great
having
analogy.
all, it was. And it was like, instead of having all of the unwarranted surprises. I hate roller coasters now. When I was younger, I
I
loved
do
them because
too.
but but it's like sometimes you just want life to be slow and easy. That I don't need the volatile, surprises that,
So important to reevaluate your goals. So
yeah.
by prioritizing yourself. So for example, I'm doing my research right now for my dissertation. So I got my IRB approval and everything. And my hope was to graduate this at by the end of the by March so that I could walk in May. But then I thought about it and I was spending so much time on this work that I wasn't paying attention to anybody. Like I couldn't put on, like I couldn't do anything. So I finally the one day was like, you know what? Who cares if I graduate in May, June, July? Like, who cares? I don't want to
Mhm.
spread it out for years. Like, you know what I mean? I
Right.
still want to,
And
so
you
I still
won't.
want to make sure I keep myself within a certain frame, but I don't need to walk in May. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
okay
see,
with
we
that.
put those unnecessary pressures on ourselves.
Yeah,
And see,
nobody
that's
told me I had to walk by May. Who
exactly,
told me I
and
had to
that is
walk by
the
May?
part,
Nobody.
that we have to really say, okay, that I choose me, that I choose to be, realistic as far as what goals I set for myself. That I said, okay, that I know, okay, once again, hey, I start school again Monday. It's like, okay. So I am saying, okay, how's my day going to go? So I start out my day. And so this is like, day one of the year. And I said, okay, so I got up, I read my Bible, I went and worked out the gym, I came in, and then I just exhaled and said, what is the rest of my day going to look like? So thank God I said we were on the list of things to do today. Because I said, okay, once I
Right.
do this, I start the rest of my day. But then, of course, now I have the rest of my day to do everything I need to do. But once again, I've got to prioritize or compartmentalize the things that I need to do. And then once I do that, I say, okay, these are the things that I want to accomplish. Let me put them in priority to what's more important to me or what needs my attention immediately. So once I'm able to do that, now I have structured my day. And even if I deviate, then by the end of the day, I'm looking like, but look at all that I've accomplished. Instead of saying, look what I haven't accomplished. Let me
Yeah.
celebrate the small steps. So if I'm
Yes.
able to celebrate, I've got this done, I've got this done. Half my list is done, a quarter of my list is done. Okay, then boom. Then I'm one step closer to my goal. So that's why I always say, please take the time to celebrate your small victories because your small victories will lead to your end result.
That is so true. And for everybody listening out there, if you're like, what? She did all this by 1 o'clock? That is not normal. Miss Melody is like a go-getter. You're like, I went to the gym, I folded laundry, I got a
Yeah.
bath, I blah, blah,
Oh
blah, I
yeah.
did my, it's 1 o'clock.
I,
You're
I
like
didn't
done.
want to give. I
And
didn't
then
want to
you
give them
said
the whole
after
list.
this,
Yeah.
wait, and then you said, and then after this, I have the rest of my day. I'm like, meanwhile, you already did everything. Of course you have the rest of your, that's a lot of stuff. I like woke up, brushed my teeth,
And came
ate
downstairs, huh?
online. But there you go. Our priorities are different. So I know that that at nighttime when everybody goes to bed, my house gets quiet, and that's when my brain is best at doing my work. So for me right now, like you were saying in seasons of your life, for my life right now, it is better for me to stay up until 4 a.m. and then sleep till noon because I'm getting my work done. So if it wasn't working for me, like let's say I was doing that and then I was missing work, well, then that obviously isn't working. So that's not what I do.
Right.
But
Right.
right now, I have a little bit of a break in between semesters, and I find myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 1 o'clock or like it's 12 o'clock. I'm still asleep. But then I'm like, wait, you didn't go to bed till 6. And then I come downstairs and I have so much work done. And it's work that I can't imagine doing with constant distractions. And I'll
Sure.
be completely um transparent. I am neurodivergent, and there's probably other people. If you're like, what the heck does that mean? It's our new fancy term in higher ed for any sort of learning disability, mental illness, things like that. But I have ADHD. It's a real thing. It is what it is. But I know that if I work with my ADHD or my brain, I know that my brain works different than others. So if I just work with it instead of trying to work against it and being like everybody else, I finally got to an age where I'm like, but I'm not like you. Like that works for you, but that doesn't work for me. So
Right.
you have
And
to
to
do
be
what works
okay
for
with
you.
that. And to
Be
be
okay
okay
with
with
that.
that. That's it.
Yes.
Because the same
Yes.
thing, I'm totally wired different. I'm wired different than my family, my husband. And you know what? And I'm good at this season of embracing me. That I'm different. Listen, if God wanted everybody to sing, he could have kicked us out on a conveyor belt. Okay?
Yep.
Melody
You're
one,
right.
Melody two, Melody 20,003. It's like
There's
that's
no
you talking about
melody two or
glory.
2023. There's only one
Yeah,
melody.
that's it. And see, of course, but I have to show up authentically me for you to value me. Because if I was so busy trying to be like you or somebody else, then you would miss the relationship with me, the true me.
You're absolutely right. And in the beginning of the podcast, we talked about like being our authentic selves, or like how much do we tell people, things like that. And I'm an open book, so I'm just like, we decided let's just be our authentic selves. We were afraid
Yes.
like if we talk about God, we might offset somebody. If we talk about this, we're gonna, and I said, you know what? Who cares? Like we have to be our authentic self. Like that's your whole life. So why wouldn't you bring that into it? Like it's your life. And my life is counseling. So why wouldn't I teaching? Why wouldn't I bring that into it? It's who I am. So I think
Right.
that's another thing, learning how to make sure you're your authentic self and that you're not doing things to please others, that you're doing something to help yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing stuff for other people all the time, you're going to wind up getting them to their goal. But then it's like, now you haven't even started.
And not only that though, but as we do that, because that to me is like code switching also, then I forget who I am. If I keep
Yes.
working for somebody else's satisfaction, then I really forget who I am. And then, we were just talking about, moms and transitions that they go through. That one day you wake up and you don't even know who you are. And now you're in
Yeah.
your 50s, it's like, dude, really? That I've spent my entire life doing what for somebody else? And it's like, no, value the season that you're in. I don't care if you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, could be in your 50s or your 60s. Value the season that you're in because you're still here and God has a purpose for you. So
That's right.
tap into
Even in your
those
70s
purposes.
and 80s, if you're listening,
Yes.
you know what I mean? If you could still do it, do it. My aunt is 103, and we went to visit her the other day, and yeah, she's still like completely 100% there. So like she told us stories. My mom said that she told her stories that she didn't even know, which was
Wow.
amazing because we had it all on tape. Because if my aunt died with those stories, nobody would have ever known them.
Yes.
For
Yes.
example, my mom just found out that that their oldest sister was an arranged marriage. She had no idea. I didn't know that, but like we would have never known that. So talk to the people around you.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like make sure that you're not just, because I don't want people to become so self-centered that they're not, because we live in a very self-centered world. So make sure that while you're being prioritizing yourself, that you prioritize yourself in a way that you make sure, especially if you're a parent, things like that, that everybody else is taken care of. So like before we jumped on here today, you probably made sure your son had what he needed, or I made sure my daughter had what she needed. So we got that out of the way so that we can give our 100%. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
There's a way to prioritizing yourself as well. But a big part of it is sticking it out, because sometimes we try to prioritize ourselves and then we push it off, push it off, push it off. And you have to do that.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
next thing you know, it's the next day and you're looking like I didn't do anything for me in this day. So, this is just a challenge to those that are listening today. Carve out time for yourself before you do anything else. And was just one young lady that I was coaching, and I had just said to her, so I said, you have to have time for you, because she's multitasking, doing all things with her. She's got a big family, got young kids, all of that. And I said, did you think about getting up maybe just an hour earlier for you? It's the same thing. We're all kind of, women, moms, whatever, that we work into the middle of the night. The whole house could be quiet, and then we're busting the suds at 11 o'clock at night, or making dinner for the next day. That we find a way to do it. But in that, I have just, released myself, gave myself permission to say, you know what? God gives us 24 hours. In that 24 hours, I couldn't handle anymore. Sometimes we say, oh, I need more time. We couldn't handle more time. That's why he only gave us 24 hours. But in that 24-hour season, I can carve out time for me. So
How
mine is
much
when I go
time
to
do you
the
think when you say carve out time? Because that's actually a good point. So if there's 24 hours in a day, what would you suggest? Like, are we talking about spend like 10 minutes on yourself, an hour, 3 hours? Like what, or is
and
everybody's
once
time
again,
different?
everybody's priorities are different. So
It's
it really would
different, right?
what it is. Now, mine is I love going to the gym because one, I feel great. I get to what I put on, I look great in it, because that's something that pleases me. And my husband benefits from it, but it's about, me feeling good about me. And so I just said yes, because I can give myself an hour. And in that hour, it's now sometimes depends what I'm doing, because of course I still have a salon, at the house. So then sometimes I'm like, I'll do my hair, I'll do my nails, I'll do my toes. And everybody knows when I'm in that room, it's all about me. You don't need to knock, you don't
Good.
need to do anything, because that's my moment. So, and that's like what, maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks.
I
But
love
by
that.
this everything else is in place. Dinner's on the table, questions are here, all that is done, ministry things are done. And I'm looking like, okay, I've got to pour back into me, because that is one of the main things in 2024 that I just really want to throw that to somebody. You have to not only prioritize you, but you have to take care of you. And if I'm broke, busted, and disgusted, who can I pour into? Who can I help?
No, you
I
can't.
I can't, because I'm already tapped. I'm already drained. I'm already empty. I've got to replenish me to be effective for anybody else.
And it's
And
okay to tell people that too. Like sometimes I am, all right. So I'm very bad at boundary. I'm getting better now, but I used to be bad at boundary setting in the sense of you could still call me at 4 in the morning and I'm going to answer. So I'm still in my boundary setting stages.
now listen, someone could be listening to this and they're 60, 70 and they're retired. So all they can do is prioritize them. I I envy that. I envy that, because it's funny. I was just talking to my mother-in-law today. She's like, I think 86 now. Once again, she drives, she goes to the gym, all of those things. So we love to empower. And she said she was going to hang out Wednesday with a friend. I said, I wish I had your time. Do it.
Do it.
Listen, my thing, have at it. If you want to do it, have at it. Because
Yep.
it's like the world is indeed your oyster. Whatever you want to do, you're retired, you're chilling. It's like you've got all the time in the world.
Your things. Like I don't ADHD for me is not a death sentence. I don't consider myself, you know, Jamie Vona, the ADHD girl. I consider myself Jamie Vona who has ADHD. Well, or neurodivergence as we call it now. I think that's fancier. But I just know that my brain just doesn't work the same as other people, and that's okay. And there might be some people that aren't going to understand it. I would say if you just lived with me for a day or two without being medicated, you would definitely believe that ADHD. But with that being said, I think just knowing what you can handle and not making yourself see, I listen to Miss Melody and I know myself and I'm a go-getter, I'm an overachiever. And all of the things that you mentioned that you did before 1 o'clock today was like, to some people that's going to be their whole day's work of list, you know. So don't compare yourself to others,
No,
because
no,
I know
no.
today I am not getting as much done as you did already by 1 o'clock, and that's okay. Maybe
Yeah,
tomorrow I get done twice the amount, you know, it's okay.
there you
Like,
go.
and
Yes.
I like, or I'll find myself like if I want to clean up or whatever. And like the one yesterday, we had people here for New Year's. The day before, I stayed up till like 2 in the morning to get everything set up. But then yesterday, when I woke up, everybody else was like doing the chores that they were doing. And I was like, I'm good. Like, cause I already did my chores. Maybe 10 years ago, that would have made me feel uncomfortable. And I would have jumped up and started doing chores again because I'm like,
Right.
everybody else is doing it. So like you just have to be like you just have to stay true to yourself.
Yes, yes. It's funny that you say that because even when you were talking about that, I said, I know I'm intense. I don't have to wonder. I don't have to do a survey. I know I'm intense.
I love that.
And well, truth is truth.
No,
I
it
said,
is.
so
I love that though.
everybody can't handle me. And to understand that. So, whether you're saying I'm high functioning, whether it's this, okay. And so even with that, to realize that there's grace for that there's sometimes, that I'm in different circles. I just kind of lay back because there's a mellow side of me also. But when I'm in, I'm all in. And it's like, same thing. If I'm doing an event, everybody knows, okay, she's like this because there are marching orders. There were marching orders. So and so supposed to do that. So and so supposed to do that. Doing that. What are you doing? And it's kind of like, we're all marching on the same drum.
Yeah.
And then when you see the result of it, now I can kind of relax, have fun, play a little. But other than that, I am. And it was so funny that it was a young lady, I think, that I was meeting, and she was kind of trying to gel, to kind of figure me out. And it reminds me, it's like an inside joke now. It's like the hamster on the wheel. She's trying to process everything I'm giving her, and her head is going like this. And then
Duh.
I said, wait, honey, I know I'm intense. So I'll give you a minute to catch up. And so you're saying whether it's ADHD, whatever it is, it's like you're you. Everyone can't handle you. And you know what? I'm okay releasing them out of my life because
That
those
is
that are
important
supposed
to
to
know.
be here,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
those that are supposed to be here, those that can handle what God has put in me, then they have access to me. But
You're
everybody
right.
doesn't. And I'm
And
okay with that.
if somebody doesn't respond to you well, don't take it as if you're a bad person or you did something
No,
wrong.
no,
And they might have their own sensory
sure.
disorder or something, and maybe I'm just too much and I
Exactly.
overstimulate them.
You overpower them with because you can give me a thought and I'm like this. It's all wheels are firing because I can see it. It's funny. One of my best girlfriends, we tease. I said, I have started the conversation. I have finished the conversation. I'm on to the next conversation, and you're on. That's as far as you've gotten. And so that's why it's okay for you to be you. And that's what I just want to say to somebody. You are authentically you for a reason. Don't try and dummy down. Don't try
I
and
love you
I
said that. Don't dumb me down. I love that. I tell everybody that all the time. Do not dumb down your personality for somebody else.
no.
My whole life, I would always get like, shh, or
Yeah.
like, calm down. That is so annoying to me. I saw somebody do that to my daughter once, Gianna, and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, you are not. And I went right over to her and I was like, do not change a thing. Like, don't,
Yes.
no, because that's what happens when we're younger, like, right? So people, and if you think about it as a mom, like kids need to know, like, this is my inside voice, my outside voice. We weren't talking about that. We're talking about I was using my inside voice, but maybe I was speaking a little bit fast because I was undiagnosed at the time, whatever. But so I was like, "Brr." So my mom would be like, oh, she's like a tornado. Don't mind her. But it's like that, like kids process that. And I'm like,
Sure.
what does that mean? Like, am I too much for people? And like, so you have to make sure you're careful with that too. So instead, just be like, this is who I am. And it's okay that I'm not for everybody's cup of tea.
Listen,
That's
take
okay.
it or leave it, honey. It's take it or leave it. And be okay with that. Because the right
That's the hard
people
part though, because
that
there's
are
people
supposed
that aren't okay with it.
no, but there's people that are assigned to be in your life for a reason. And that you can, and I'm telling you, and it's very, very rewarding when you find those people because they it just gels. It just flows. You don't have to try and make it fit. It's not a force fit. It's not like, oh, I can't take it's you being you, but then they have the capacity, goodness, they
Love
have
it.
the capacity to handle you and you them. Everyone
Mm.
doesn't have that capacity. That is trying to fit a gallon-sized jug into a pint-sized container, but you don't have the capacity to handle it. It's going to be too much. It was just
Mhm.
something that, of course, it was trending that I had shared this weekend. It was like, don't let my confidence convict your insecurity or stimulate your insecurity. So it's something like that. So if you're confidently you, then I can't get upset because someone is insecure with what I'm bringing to the table. If I bring it to the table, it's up to you to take off what you want. And that's really where it is. So if I give you wisdom, if I give you tips, even in this season, I said, I'm just doing a 21-day challenge of, positivity that I'll just be posting. So you can follow me if you desire,
Yeah, what does
just
that mean? What do you mean by that?
that each day I will give you a tip of wisdom and, information that will encourage you for 21
All right, well,
days.
what happens on day 22 if I want more?
And you
Do
may
I
have to
just
tag
put
me
a
in.
request in?
Yes, you're going to tag me and talk about, hey, it's day 22. And I'm going to tell you, do everything I told you to do in 21 days.
No, but I guess that's the point, right? Because you made it a 21-day challenge. And I think that's what we're saying. In your head, you've been able to carve out that 21-day challenge. So for anybody to think that there's going to be a day 22 is on them, not you.
Right.
You said I'm
And see,
doing a
that's
21-day
the point,
challenge.
that I bring it to the table. What I offer, I'm going to offer you. You take off the table. It's like a buffet. You take off the table whatever you want. If you can only handle what happens on day one, you are free and clear. But if you can hang in there and say, you know what, I wonder what's going to happen on day 15. I wonder what's going to happen on day 21. That if you can handle it, then digest it. But don't criticize because, oh my God, I'm anxiety. It's giving me anxiety. It's too much for me. I can't do all this. Okay, then take bite-sized pieces because you can't handle the whole gallon.
Every time I see an elephant now, I think you, because you said the one day you're like, how do you eat an elephant? And you said one
One
bite
bite
at
at
a
a
time.
time.
So now when I see an elephant, I'm like, that's a big butt. That's a lot of food right there.
That's a lot of
But
food. But
it
you know
is
what?
that.
But what did you say when we started? The endurance. But I have the endurance to bite every day
And the
until I'm
perseverance.
finished.
So even
Yes.
if you don't have the endurance, a lot of it's perseverance. So there's
Mhm.
so many people that start things, or maybe they start school and then they get pregnant, or life, or they get a good job and they don't want to, miss out on that. But then they
Yeah.
might find themselves later being like, "Oh, I wish I would have just finished those." Like it's okay to go
To
back. Like
reset.
everybody's route is different. Reset,
Yeah.
reset. I like
Okay.
that.
Same thing. When I went to school, you never forget it. It's like I took all these classes and I'm like, oh yes, you're just a go-getter. I can get this done. I can get this done. I can do this on Monday. I can do this on Tuesday. Or I can do this on Wednesday. It's like, baby, by that first semester, I was so burnt out. I didn't even know what my name was. But then of course, so the next one, because I always say anything that you go through, gain knowledge from it. Why do I like it? Don't just say, oh, I like it because once just being, coming out of the cosmetology industry, I was a cosmetologist for years, that someone would bring me a picture and say, oh, I like this haircut. First thing I would do is cover the person's face and say, tell me why you like it. Because you think you're going to walk out looking like that girl. Newsflash update, you're not. So tell me
I
what
love
you
that.
like about it, because now that gives self-reflection, that gives, your opinion. Well, I really like the bangs. Okay. Even when they would come and say, oh, just cut 2 inches off. I would never cut 2 inches off. I would cut 1 inch off and say, what do you think? Because your perspective is different from my perspective. And
That's
so then when they
right.
look like, oh, that's perfect. They don't even tell them. I said, it's not 2 inches, it's one, but fine, as long as you like it.
As long as
And
you
so
like it.
as long as you like it. And so that's what I'm saying, that you start, reevaluating life and situations differently as you grow. So whatever I've been through in life has caused me to be the woman that I am today because I chose to grow from it.
You're right. You're right. We actually got on my YouTube page, I got a few new members. I put something out about a true crime case and it got people to like come to my page. So then they checked out She Rises while they were there. And somebody wrote like that we don't know. They like thanked us for doing this. So I meant to tell you that too. So I think that that's
And
important because,
that's
and my
always
thing is
about
if we help one person, then I feel like we did that, like this was done for a reason. You know what I mean?
not in vain. It's not in vain. And that
No,
has
not at
always
all.
been the thing, to be able to win one, reach one, that whatever And that has always been my goal, that whatever I've been through has been for a reason, because I am a stronger woman because of it. But if I can help the next woman or the next generation not to make the same costly mistakes, that is my assignment for going through it.
No, you're right. And I also noticed too, so we really helped this person. And I was like, I wrote back and I was like, oh, thank you so much. I was like, I'll never forget you. Like, you're the first real comment type thing from somebody I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was a great feeling. And that like gave me like a little like kick it,
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
jump start where I was like,
Yes, that validation that we're doing the right thing. Yes.
yes, absolutely. And it took weeks, right? So it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen overnight. But as soon as people start seeing you, then they'll tell their friends, like, you should watch these people. And then it just goes on.
Everybody's trending. The Color Purple just came out, and we went to see it with a group of women. And of course, it was, we're in there screaming, yeah, all that. But it was the main thing in the character was being heard and seen. And even in this day and time, that is one of the main things. What someone always say, oh, I'm shy. No, you're not shy. You're fearful. So shyness is a cousin to fear. So you have to be careful that as you keep saying, I'm shy, you're almost saying that I'm insignificant. No, you're bold and you're mighty. Okay. But you need to know who you are. So that there's oftentimes this culture will give us labels. I'm going to just
Oh
flow
yeah,
with
I
it.
hate that.
Will give us labels that we hide under, but they don't even know that they cover us, but they limit us. So
They
don't
do.
let the label that you've picked up, that you think is something soft and comforting, cap you into who you really are supposed to be. You are mightier than you know, young lady. That was
I
for
love
somebody.
that. That was for my mom. Let me tell you. So my dad
To her,
was
yes.
such a big spirit. Like he was like me. Like he just like sucked up the oxygen in the room type thing. So my mom kind of like learned to be his like side person. Like she was the one that like followed up the joke. It was almost like she didn't exist as much. Or when my dad died, and my mom had no choice but to start like being herself more because she was always so quiet and stuff. I'm like, Mom, you're hysterical. She is so funny. Like, and she even said it like she's like, I am funny, ain't aren't I? And I'm like, you are, like, you're very funny. So now that she's able to be herself more, like you said, she was fearful before. Like, how are
Yeah.
people going to receive me? Or what am I carrying? Or am I going to take away from my husband's shine? Who
Yes.
cares?
Yes.
There's enough shine for both of them.
Both of them. You know what? Let me just share this with you. It's so funny that
Please.
there was one time Mike and I, we had been invited on a radio talk show, as far as they wanted to interview both of us. And we're just us. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna razz each other. All of that, and all in love. And so we were so, I guess, comfortable with each other's shine that they offered us our own radio slot. And so they
Nice.
said, because we've never met anyone that is married that was not in competition with the other. And I
That
said,
is
wait a
so
minute.
bad. I'm so glad you said that.
Yes. And so whether it's a husband and wife, whether it's ministry, whatever it's business, that how can I be in competition with someone that loves me for me? How can I want to outshine his shine when his shine is my shine?
Yes.
Okay. That I
And
said,
people
I
don't
would be
realize that.
crazy to be against myself. When he
Yes.
shines, I am his biggest supporter.
And
Because why?
sometimes people will
Because
cut that person down.
and I've seen that. I've seen the negative side of it. And that's why they said that she said, we've been interviewing, couples in power, couples in ministry, couples in relationships, the power couples, whatever they want to call them now. And we've never seen the cohesiveness that you two have one another. I said, I love and respect everything that man does, because why? It's reciprocated. That the same thing. So whether he's doing something that's in the communities, whatever, I'm his biggest fan,
Yeah,
because
me too.
he
I
makes me look good. He makes me look good.
No, that's good. I didn't
I,
even think of it that way, but you're right.
yes.
And this is another thing. If somebody's intimidated by your shine, then maybe they're insecure, right? So
Come
like
on.
my husband all the time, he's an iron worker and I'm going to get my doctorate. And a lot of people would be like, I guess intimidated by that because a doctorate it's a pretty big thing. my husband's like, I can't wait because, and here I'm excited too. The first time we get invited to a wedding, I don't know if people out there know this, but if you're a female and you get invitations or anything in the mail, we all know that it always says to like Mr. and Mrs.,
Yes.
Michael Williams or Mr. and Mrs.
Yes.
Ryan Vona. So just so you know, when somebody gets their doctorate, if you're a female and you're married to a male, it then comes in to doctor and Mr.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I'll be first all of a sudden. And that doesn't threaten him. That doesn't threaten him not one bit. He loves that. He's like, I
No,
can't wait.
because he's comfortable in his skin. And see, I was just saying that
Yes,
when
he's
you deal
comfortable
with
in his
someone
skin.
that's insecure, you will have those things pop up. But if you are secure in who you are, and I always say, it's like it takes, they say takes two halves to make a whole. That is a lie. That
I'm so glad you said that.
I need to be whole before I become whole with someone else. I can't be half.
I tell my students all the time because they'll be like, my relationship's 50-50. And I'm like, well, you're not in the right relationship. It needs to be 100-100.
Come on, come
Because
on.
when we do 50-50, we're counting on somebody else to make part of us whole. What happens if something
Right.
happens to that person?
And they're going to let you down
Where does that
because
leave you?
you can't make yourself happy. How are you going to put that responsibility on somebody else? Come
You're
on.
right.
You're
You're
right.
right.
So why would I let someone dictate my joy and my happiness when I can't fulfill it myself? That I have to be able to say, I'm self-fulfilling, that I know it makes me happy. I know it brings me joy. I know it brings me peace. I know it makes me laugh. That I have to be complete in who I am before I'm able to hook up with somebody else. Why are you going to make it my fault when you're not happy?
No, you're
No.
right. No, you're right. And it's about like owning, we all have flaws and we all have strengths. And
Mm-hmm.
I could tell the story. My husband just walked by me. It reminded me of it. So
Oh,
my daughter plays softball and I was up doing my homework and I didn't go to bed till like 7 in the morning and she had to be at softball at like 10 and Ryan takes her to softball all the time and I show up to most of the games, but if it's like a really early morning one, I'll go to the second game in the afternoon. So the one day, the women that I sit with all the time and talk to, they were like, "Where's Jamie?" And he said, "Oh, I came to this one. She's not a morning person." Melody, I swear to God, if I had a knife, I would have cut his throat. I was like, why would you tell other women? I was dead serious. I'm like, why would you tell other women that I am not a morning person? What I heard, he's like, and he was so confused. He was like, because you're not. And I'm like, and what I heard was you're not a good mom because you did not show up at 7. That's what I heard. Like you did not show up. You stayed up till 7 to do homework and now you're not there. So you're a bad mom. And that's not what he said. What he said was
no.
she's not a morning. She gets her work done. All he meant was is that I work best at night. So I work through the night and I'm sleeping and I'll come to the next game. But I got mad at him. I
Yeah.
was mad at him. But he said it from the other room. He's like, yes, you will. But now we laugh about it because I'm like, just own it. Like to me, I heard you're not a good mom, and that's not what he said.
Right.
He said
Right.
he's working on her doctorate and I'm here. Like, if anything, I should be happy that my husband picked up,
Pick up the
and said, I
slack.
got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I almost killed him that day. I would have killed him and been able to justify it. I was like, you called me a bad mom in front of these other women. He was like, wait, all I said was you weren't a morning. He's like, I took it to a whole different level. So I think
Yeah.
that's another thing. That was my own insecurity. He did
Yeah.
not say I was a bad mom. He didn't say that I had to come to every game. He literally just said that I work better at night. He was telling the truth.
Yeah.
There's nothing
But
wrong
we
with
earlier that as long as I gain knowledge from whatever situation I'm in, it's a win-win. So you gain
and
knowledge.
also accepting the fact that not being a morning person does not translate into you're not a good mom.
Exactly. There,
So
because I don't
we
care
have to
where you
challenge
put
our
that in,
thoughts.
that is not going to be the answer at the end result. Okay. And the same thing. I'm not a morning person. I'd be like, correct.
You're exactly right. So, and I wouldn't get offended because you're another mom that I know that you know what I do all the, but it's
Yeah.
just, so maybe it's funny, right? But I'm not a morning person. You were like, let's do 12. I was like, how about 1?
Right.
But
I'm like,
we know
and
each other.
I said, because I said, I know you like your sleep time. We're good. But once again, giving me the grace to be me,
Yes.
so I think this has been
You're
an
right.
awesome, awesome, awesome time with
It
us.
really has. It has. And I think we did a really good podcast today. So I just challenge people to make sure you put yourself first, because if you don't love yourself first, it's going to be hard to help the people around you. And